That was a long time ago, before Tommy Aldridge ever played double bass drums. He was captivated by Joe Morello's beautiful rhythm. Aldridge could have learned basic hard-hitting rock drumming at a young age since he grew up listening to Southern rock and blues. But Morello, a jazz master who plays with Dave Brubeck's trio, brought something else to the table. There is subtlety, complexity, and focus. Morello's performance on Take 5 was a lesson in how to gracefully handle odd-time signatures. Rhythm magazine talked to Aldridge, who said, "That guy had chops for days. He could play 5/4 swing and make it sound like it was easy." That stuck with me a lot. Hearing Take 5 by the Brubeck Quartet Joe Morello, and it just hit home, so to speak. Even though I was only 7 or 8 years old, I found it very interesting. I didn't get it. Of course it was in 5/4 and pretty extreme. I thought he was just a young man, but when I heard it, it really moved me, and it still does. Aldridge was most interested in Morello's deep understanding of dynamics. Morello could shape a song with control or let loose with a storm of fills when the situation called for it. An early thought that this gave Aldridge was that technical drumming didn't have to mean sacrificing rhythm. But it was one thing to admire Morello. It was a whole different thing to try to copy his style in Southern rock. For Aldridge, that meant learning new words for music. Tommy Aldridge learned how to play rock drums in its most risky form from Ginger Baker. The drummer for Cream, who was often seen as unstable, was a paradox. A musician with training in jazz who plays proto-metal beats that mix African polyrhythms with psychedelic excess. This cross-genre magic was too good for Aldridge to ignore. In a fan Q&A, Aldridge once said, he was crazy in the best way possible. He made Cream sound like no one else, especially when they played live. He would play long jams that were a mix of jazz and fight music. He did not follow any rules. Baker's refusal to be just a timekeeper was one of the things that influenced Aldridge the most about his style. Baker played the drums like he was playing lead. Baker was not a supporting player during live shows, like the famous Toad solo. He was the one who called the shots. This idea of the drummer stepping forward and claiming the stage would become a signature of Aldridge's live show. But Baker made another scientific point more well known, and Aldridge would push it even further. Many years before seeing two bass drums was a regular thing in hard rock and heavy metal, Louis Bellson was the first person to really use the setup. Bellson was great at both making new music and performing it. He is best known for his work with Duke Ellington and Count Basie. The first time Aldridge saw Bellson, it was an old tape. What struck him was how elegant Bellson made what seemed like a rough setup. Belson's use of the double bass drum wasn't just a trick, it was a way for him to express himself. This showed him how to make a hard-hitting but musically rich style that he later improved with Ozzy Osbourne and Whitesnake. But Bellson came from a jazz and big band background. It was important for Aldridge to find someone who could play electric blues and hard rock with the same level of urgency. John Bonham steps in. He plays a style of music that combines the raw power of rock with the intricate sounds of jazz and funk. Bonham was a huge impact on Aldridge, as it was on almost every drummer of his time. Bonham had a deep locked-in feel. According to Aldridge, it was like a freight train with groove. The area between the notes, the way he used ghost notes and accents was so smart. People only notice how hard he hit the notes. Aldridge found Bonham's use of doubles on the bass drum to be the most interesting thing about him. The famous Good Times Bad Times dance was a big surprise. It proved that rhythmic complexity didn't have to be flashy to work. It could be quiet, rooted and very strong. Aldridge used this way of thinking in his own playing, especially when he joined the fast-paced groups of bands like Black Oak, Arkansas, and later Ozzy Osbourne's Blizzard of Oz. Still, there was one drummer whose fierceness and style were most like Aldridge's future stage image. Mitch Mitchell danced like a flame while Bonham swung like a hammer. Mitchell is best known as the drummer for the Jimi Hendrix Experience. He brought a jazz-influenced finesse and improvisational energy to Hendrix's live shows that made them more unpredictable. Aldridge really liked the way Mitchell played. With a military stack behind him, he played like Elvin Jones. He joked that he never did what was safe. It was crazy to see someone ride a storm. Mitchell's drumming on songs like Fire and Manic Depression showed how the drums could change the speed and direction of a song in real time. He would fly around the snare and toms with fast rolls, add in strange cymbal crashes, and talk back and forth with Hendrix in a way that was almost like telepathy. Aldridge liked that they were willing to take chances on stage. He went on to become one of the most animated and angry live rock drummers of all time. But when Mitchell came along, they realized it wasn't just about strength or speed. It was also about how people interacted with each other. It was this idea of the drummer as a musical conversationalist that made Aldridge look for musicians who could do everything. Even though Ainsley Dunbar never became as well known as Bonham or Baker, artists looked up to him. Dunbar was known for being able to play any style of music and still sound like himself. He did time with Frank Zappa, Journey, Whitesnake, and even David Bowie. He's one of the best drummers who has ever been forgotten, Aldridge said on the radio. In the same set, that guy could play blues, fusion, and progressive rock. He was a machine that tasted good. Aldridge's goals were very similar to Dunbar's, who was known as a precise player who could add flair when required. Dunbar's work on records by T-Rex and Journey, like Electric Warrior and Infinity, showed how a drummer could be both subtle and powerful in very different settings. This ability to change pushed Aldridge to improve his flexibility, especially during his session years. But while Dunbar kept his playing tight, Aldridge would finally burst onto the scene with speed and theater as his trademarks. Aldridge learned about double bass drums from Louis Bellson, and Ginger Baker showed him how to go off-piste. But it was Billy Cobham who showed what could happen when each part of the body worked like its own engine. As the Mahavishnu Orchestra's main player, Cobham combined jazz, funk, Latin, and rock styles into a very powerful and skilled style. What Aldridge heard on Spectrum shocked him. He said Billy played the drums better than anyone else. It was more than just quick or hard. It was smart. It was sad and musical at the same time. Cobham's ability to play the drums with both hands and his use of big kits inspired Aldridge to push the limits of his own physical abilities. He worked hard on being able to move his feet quickly and independently, not just for show but also to copy some of Cobham's more complicated rhythmic patterns. But while Cobham mostly worked in the fusion scene, Aldridge was more interested in the hard rock scene. All of these inspirations would come together in the loudest and most electric parts of rock. Here is a deep dive into Tommy Aldridge's biggest inspirations. If you like this, you should see Phil Collins list his 12 favorite drummers. To keep watching, just click the image that's showing up now.